Hello class, at the beginning of every project, we're going to learn about artists that work in the style that we're studying, both from the past and the present. And the first painting style that we're going to learn is Impressionistic painting. So we're going to learn about Impressionism. But before we get started, I kind of just want to show you these two paintings. Okay, the one on the right is a work of Impressionism, and the one on the left is a work that was created before Impressionism, and Impressionism was a reaction to this painting. And I want you to consider a moment, first, how are they similar? So let's first consider how are they similar. And you can say they're similar in terms of the scene. Okay, they both take place at the beach, the setting. All right, now let's consider how they're different. First, I would say they're different with regard to the way they're painted. We have this one that has a very soft and fine finish. Okay, a very carefully rendered surface. And you can't see the paint strokes, or at least the paint strokes are very subtle. Over here, the paint strokes aren't hidden, okay? They're very explicit. It's made with his dab-like marks. Now, which of these do you think you could see if you went outside your door, okay? Like if you went outside, which of these do you think you could see with your eyes? Definitely the one on the right. Okay, the one on the left is something that no one's seen. Okay, no one's seen a woman of this size on a wave, okay, with floating babies with wings, okay? So this one is something of the imagination. This is something that one can see with one eyes. Okay, so let's continue to learn about Impressionism, which is this. Okay. And these differences are important because Impressionism set itself away from this style to the left. All right, so Impressionism is artistic movement which began in Paris in the 1860s. And these artists were interested in capturing fleeting instances, okay, the momentary effects of light that were present for only a few moments. Okay, and they did this using loose, broken brushstrokes. Okay, this is a painterly painting, which means that you could see this brushstrokes very easily. They're very explicit. And here's a work of the Impressionism movement. Okay, in this painting, you could see a clear. In this painting, you can see a specific place. Okay, this is a canal in Paris at a specific time. Okay, I mean, if I knew more about weather, I could tell you at least a good idea of the time this was made. Okay, because of the shadows and the way the light is. Okay, to understand Impressionism better, it's good to understand its prehistory, what came before it, because Impressionism was a clear reaction to what came before it. Okay, and what came before it was Classicism. Okay, and that was the work that we see on the left. And Classicism was a traditional art that was popular with the Academy in Paris. Okay, which ran the Paris Salon, which was the preeminent exhibition of the European art world at the time. And this is what the work looked like. Okay, and the two things I want you to know about Classicism: the subject matter that was valued highest by this tradition was mythological, historical events in the Bible. So basically, this included things that happened in the past, things that are part of mythological traditions, These are the subject matters that classicism thought was appropriate for painting. And the way they painted it was with a fine detail and finish. Okay, they were trying to eliminate any imperfections, okay, and they were trying to idealize the figure. They were trying to make the figure look perfect according to their own conventions. Okay, so let's say you had the viewer had a zit that day. Okay, they're gonna blend that out. Now, Impressionism reacted to this, and it decided that the everyday, the world around the artist, was a valuable source material for a painting and a valuable subject matter for a painting, and was worthy of being painted. So the Impressionists began to paint what they considered the real, okay, and the world as they directly saw it, the world around them. And you can see, here's a work of Paris. Here's another one. This one is in, I can't pronounce this, but Rouen. Okay, these are places that the artist could directly see. They're likely living nearby, or at least they traveled to this place to see this. Another thing that the Impressionists were interested in was capturing the momentary effects of light. Okay, so they're trying to capture the moment. They're really into being in the moment. And here's a series that was done by Monet. He would paint the same church at different times of the day. Okay, and you paint the same church from a very similar perspective. And this is the same church, and the object has the same color. Okay, it's stone color. Okay, but at different times of the day, it appears to the eye to be different colors. Okay, at this time of day, it's a bluish. This time of day, it's a peachy color. This time of the day, it's more of the usual stone color we would associate with stone. Okay, and maybe guess like what times of day these are. I would say maybe this is the morning, maybe this is closer to noon, maybe it's closer to the end of the day. Another thing about Impressionism, they were interested in going outside to paint. Okay, so beforehand, many paintings were done in a studio setting. But because the artists were interested in capturing light, especially changing light caused by the sun, they had to go outside. And here's Monet painting in plein air, okay, on site. Another thing about Impressionism is they loosen their brush strokes. Okay, they weren't interested in blending and capturing this pristine surface. They're okay with showing their marks, and they use these visible and dab-like marks. Okay, it's part of the process. They were working quickly, so they had to use this. Okay, another key idea of Impressionism is that it used optical color mixing. Okay, so rather than mix the colors all on their palette, they would place colors next to each other and they would combine in the eye. So it's similar to what you would see with a comic book. Have you seen an old comic book where you'd see little dots next to each other? Like you would see blue dots next to red dots, and you get a violet, or you'd see green dots and I see yellow dots, and you'll get a green. That's what they were doing, and they were doing this because they were trying to get the color of the highest saturation. Okay, they're trying to reproduce the luminosity of light. So they used optical color mixing to do this. And you can see it in this work by Monet. Okay, do you see how there's all these colors mixed next to each other? How it creates a very vibrant appearance. That's what they were doing. They're placing these marks next to each other and they combined in the eye. Okay, here's some of the sources that I used, and if you'd like to do more further research, you can check these out.